Filip Bystedt and the rest of the 2022 draft class is ready to make an impact in San Jose.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be examining the 2022 draft class, how their season went, and why this draft class might have a pretty big impact on the Sharks here really, really soon. So let's go ahead and start by first, before we do anything, congratulations to Sam Dickinson and Kasper Holttunen for winning the OHL again. Kasper Holttunen, MVP of the playoffs. Dude was absolutely on fire in the finals, but congrats to those guys. I know the Memorial Cup is what they have their eyes set on, their eyes on the prize here, but back to back, just a wonderful performance by those guys. But we'll get to those guys eventually here. So in upcoming episodes, but let's of course talk about Filip Bystedt, who was the first pick by the San Jose Sharks in that draft class. And as a quick reminder from the 2022 draft class, so we had Filip Bystedt was picked in the first round at pick number 27. Sharks followed up with Cam Lund at number 34, Matias Havlid at number 45, Michael Fiser in the third round at number 76, then Mason Beaupit, who's no longer with the organization, at 108. In the fifth round, they got Jake Furlong, who will spend some time, of course, today. Joey Moldoni in the sixth round. And in the seventh, they picked Eli Barnett, and then Reese Labach, hometown kid, of course. So far, only one player out of this whole draft class is actually no longer with the organization. This also was the first kind of Mike Greer draft class. Yes, I know he showed up about 20 minutes before the draft, but the first kind of, his first class. So let's start, of course, though, like I said, with Filip Bystedt. So, of course, Bystedt picked after the Sharks traded back. We'll look at the trade here a little bit later, but Bystedt spent this entire season with the San Jose Barracuda, his first full season in the AHL. He played 50 games, had 12 goals, 19 assists, 103 shots on goal. And it was a little bit of an up and down season where you didn't see the consistency you would potentially like to see from Bystedt. He usually kind of played middle six center, usually either kind of second or third line center for the Barracuda, with, of course, Andrew Podorowski as number one. You saw Colin White in the mix, but usually Bystedt was kind of the 2C for a good chunk of the season. He did deal with some injuries kind of midway through the year, but came back really, really strong after that injury, and especially in the playoffs. So I do think for Bystedt, and we're going to talk about the playoffs here in 1 second, but I do think overall it was a pretty positive season from him as he played his first full year in the AHL in the Barracuda. And I've mentioned before, right? I just feel like his game just kind of translates to North American hockey a little bit better than what we saw over in Sweden, with the more ice over there. I think his game, using his size to his advantage, kind of translates a little bit better in North America. He was 8th on the Barracuda in points with 31 points, again, playing 50 games. The guys in front of him, Colin Graff, who, of course, split the season. Bordalo, who played more games than him. Regenda, who's split the season between San Jose and Anaheim. Cardwell, who, of course, played like 13 more games than him, Gushin, Cagnoni, and Podorowski. So like he was definitely in the mix when it came to scoring here for the Barracuda. But I think though in the playoffs is where we really saw his game elevate, and I think that is a really important factor, right? And we heard a lot about we wanted some of our young guys to get more, get this playoff exposure and see how they perform. And Bystedt in the playoffs, I thought really elevated his game, right? And especially without Andrew Podorowski, and then Colin White missing some time. Bystedt had 3 goals in 6 games for the Barracuda. He was tied in the team with goals with Regenda and was tied for 3rd with points behind Colin White and Colin Graff. So, but Bystedt, right, who, the Sharks clearly wanted to get some competition, especially the Zach Ostapchuk trade, I thought really kind of put his stamp down as like, don't forget about me type of player. And this what you want to see, right? As these Sharks are building this, and you want to see these guys who elevate their games as things get tighter. And I thought Bystedt having to play up, especially with Podorowski gone, right? With Colin White, and especially in that last game, having to take on more responsibilities. I thought he really elevated his game, and I thought he played extremely well. And that is a really nice thing to see as the Sharks try to find those dogs, right? Those guys that you can go to the playoffs with, and guys that you feel comfortable having in your lineup, and are going to bring their best when things get as things get tight and as competition increases. The way Haltonen plays in the playoffs, let's hope that translates. But it was, for a guy like Filip Bystedt, who, I think especially in the middle of the year, even without the injuries, didn't have his best year, but it was good to see, like, that type of response. I think is huge and for the Sharks and for their confidence and Filip Bystedt to hopefully be a piece for San Jose going forward. I do expect him to start the season next year with the Barracuda, but if he continues this progress, and I think he should have a bigger role next year, right? We'll see what Andrew Podorowski does. There's, of course, there are rumors and stuff that he might try to go to the KHL or whatever he might do, but he still is under contract with the San Jose Sharks. But for Bystedt, right, to continue to elevate his role and work on being more consistent next year, I could see him, though, playing a good chunk of NHL games, not kind of being a full-time NHLer next year, but making his NHL debut and playing a handful of games. Maybe he plays, 10 to 15 games in the NHL next year. And then you kind of start to try to pencil him in as your 3rd-line center going forward. I still think he does need to continue to work on being a little bit more physical here and there, and again, that consistency, not just the scoring, but I do think he is in a really good position to kind of fill that 3C role for the San Jose Sharks, right? Bystedt has become a really nice penalty killer for the Barracuda. It feels like every time he's on the ice on the PK, they are generating they're doing a good job of shutting down the opponent's power play, but his ability to kind of read and create plays and create those shorthanded chances. You saw it in the playoffs right there. He got a shorthanded goal in that first game at home against Colorado. Yes, I know they ended up losing that game, but those are translatable skills, and those are skills that I think will help the San Jose Sharks that, especially if you look at how the Sharks are now, that bottom 6 isn't really giving you too much. I think when Bystedt, as he continues his progression, should be a really nice bottom 6, like be that super high-end 3C for the San Jose Sharks going forward, and a guy who can potentially give you, 30 to 40 points, plus be a big time penalty killer and kind of whatever you need Bystedt to do. I think he's got the tools to do it. So, but yeah, I'm really happy with the way Bystedt ended his season, especially his playoff performances. I was really impressed. I know John McCarthy mentioned how much he was impressed with Bystedt's performance in the playoffs, and I think that bodes well for his future, especially where things got a little bit rocky in the middle of the season for Bystedt. So, which again, like going from the SHL where you play, like 50 games a season to 72 games, like kind of a little bit of a jump there. So I fully expect Bystedt to have another big, kind of a big season for the Shark or for the Barracuda next year. So as he continues his development. So we're going to talk about the second round picks here in Matias Havlid and Cam Lund, and then kind of revisit that draft day trade, that kind of first thing that Mike Greer did as soon as he got here or on draft day. So we'll get to that in just 1 second. There's nothing like playoff hockey. The energy, the rivalries, the nonstop action with the Stanley Cup playoffs heating up. There's never been a better time to go see them live, and Game Time makes it better and easier to get in the building, fast and affordable. Game Time gives you last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices often drop the closer you get to puck drop, so you can score big without overpaying. I, of course, do like the panoramic seat views. Nothing worse than getting to an event and realizing my seats stink. Oh, and don't forget, just because the playoffs might be over in San Jose, there's still plenty of action, right? You can go catch Giants games, go up to Sacramento, catch an A's game, or concerts, or whatever floats your boat this summer. Game Time has got you covered. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, before we get to Cam Lund and Matias Havlid, do of course want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. Now's a perfect time to subscribe if you haven't, as we continue to dive into the offseason and what I think the Sharks should do this offseason. We're definitely in the research phase right now where we're looking at free agents. We're looking at the draft with draft profiles coming at least once a week. We'll continue to dive into free agents next week as well. We got a couple more profiles, which I'm sure people will not get angry about. People did not like the Mitch Marner idea. Anyway, so make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. So the next pick, Cam Lund, who started the season, of course, with Northeastern, signed his ELC and played the last 11 games with the San Jose Sharks. Let's look at how his season went. So with Northeastern, Lund played 37 games, 18 goals, 22 assists, 174 shots on goal. Northeastern made a kind of Cinderella-like run in the Hockey East tournament, but for unfortunately getting knocked out very late. And then he signed with the San Jose Sharks, where he played 11 games, had 2 goals, an assist, 12 shots on goal, played 11:30 average time on ice, 46-22, 46.22 Corsi 4. So when he was on the ice, the Sharks took 46% of the shots. Goals for 23.53. So when he was on the ice, the other team basically scored 75% of the goals. To be fair, like 2 games of those were like absolute blowouts where he scored like what was it, the Rangers game where he scored a goal and they're like losing like 8-1 or something like that. But poor Cam Lund, so like he couldn't even celebrate his first NHL goal. I don't even know if we ever got the picture of Cam Lund with the puck. His because you're not allowed to smile after a game that you lose. But anyway, Cam Lund, right, kind of talking about like throughout the entire season, was easily the best player on his Northeastern team. And, I said like he needed to either go pro or look at transferring to another school where he could play more competitive hockey. He went the go pro route, which I'm awesome. Good for Cam Lund. I do not expect Lund to be on the Sharks roster opening night, just because of One, whatever they do in free agency, and two, I think he could use a little bit of time in the AHL. And not to say, like, I thought Cam Lund looked really good playing with the San Jose Sharks last year. Like, if you compared Lund to Colin Graff, like, remember Colin Graff's like 7 games, I thought Lund looked better than Colin Graff did. But look at how great Colin Graff looks now that he spent some time playing in the AHL, right? And I know Barracuda are going to have a lot of talented players on their team next year, but if you give Lund the Colin Graff treatment of, we're going to put you on the first line with, hopefully Andrew Podorowski and, whomever else, if it's a Quit Musty or Chernyshov, Podorowski, Lund line would feed families the way that line would work together. But if you did something like that and like let him play half a season and let him build up his confidence and get used to just kind of the rigors of playing in professional hockey for more than 3 weeks or whatever, I think that would be the best position for Lund for his long-term development. I still think Lund is probably going to be a second line type of player going forward, but it was just nice to see him to kind of get his feet wet this off season and this season and get a taste of professional hockey. And I'm excited to see how he can be, I think, a big time contributor for the Barracuda next year, and hopefully translate that to kind of, like I said, that just follow the Colin Graff path to success of playing in the AHL for half the season and then getting called up and just never going back type of thing, I think, or unless it's a playoff run type of thing. So very, very excited about Cam Lund and his future. Nice to see that, like, not kind of toiling away on a Northeastern team, that Lund's getting to play some more exciting hockey here. So the other second round pick, of course, Matias Havlid. So Havlid was an interesting story, right? Where he started the season with Linköping, the SHL affiliate. And as we see it very often with these SHL teams, where they'll loan out some of their players, he got loaned out to Djurgården, who, of course, Victor Eklund plays on right now. William Eklund, of course, played for that team. And kind of a tale of two halves for him. So with Linköping, Havlid played 19 games. He had 0 goals, 1 assist, 14 shots on goal, and just wasn't really earning a lot of ice time for them. Gets loaned to Djurgården, the Hockey Allsvenskan. Yes, this second league, but earns a bigger role, where in 18 games there, he had 2 goals, 12 assists, and 42 shots on goal during that time. Of course, Havlid has now signed his ELC and is going to be in San Jose this upcoming season. Of course, right-handed defenseman, which every Sharks fan keeps clamoring, right-handed defenseman. Havlid is going to have a big opportunity this upcoming season with the Barracuda to kind of carve out a really nice role, right? And especially if you look at, right, Shakir Mukhamadullin graduated. He's going to be in the NHL next year, full-time NHL player. Luca Cagnoni, maybe half in this, like, he could be one of those guys who potentially graduates at some point next season. I know you saw Jack Thompson kind of floating around. Luca Carlson, like there's Lucas Carlson. You saw some guys, but like there's plenty of opportunity for a guy like Mattias Hävelid to kind of play a big role with the Barracuda as that two-way defenseman. And actually, I think a really great partner will be somebody we talk about here in a little bit in Jake Furlong. But I'm really excited about Hävelid, and a guy who's had a little bit of an up and down kind of trajectory over there in Sweden. But I think here he's going to get a big opportunity to play some big minutes and try to kind of perform and live up to that draft status as a high second round pick. So looking back though at that trade, right? So of course, as a reminder, the Sharks traded the 11th overall pick, which ended up being Connor Geekie, for the picks that turned out to be Filip Bystedt, Cam Lund, and Mattias Hävelid. That's like, I know Connor Geeky, who also got traded last draft to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, he's played the full season with the Lightning, and he had a pretty fine season. In 52 games, he had 8 goals and 6 assists with 14 points, playing about 12 minutes a night. But I kind of, and especially with if it was Connor Geeky versus what Bystedt, and I know basically Cam Lund's the only one of those guys who've made made the NHL so far. But if you just said, would you rather Connor Geeky or would you rather Bystedt, Lund, and Havlid? Like, I think you're taking the Bystedt, Lund, and Havlid like trio right now, and turns out and then you factor in the fact that Arizona/Utah don't even have him. Yes, they traded him for Sergachev, which was a very good trade for them as they revamped their defense. But like, really nice trade by Mike Greer to recoup a lot of value. Remember, the Sharks didn't have a second round pick that year. Recoup some value, restock the pipeline, and you have 3 players here who should all make an impact in San Jose, whether most likely on the Barracuda next year, but should start to kind of make an impact next season. And as the Sharks really look to continue this rebuilding, as they're and these are all really nice pieces to have in Lund, Havlid, and Bystedt. So we're going to start looking at some of these later round picks here, including, again, some diamonds in the rough. And it feels like the Sharks might have some diamonds in the rough here with some of these late round picks. So we'll get to that in just one second. All right, before we finish up, of course want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, let us continue. We'll be looking at Michael Fisher. So the 3rd round pick, he's had a very interesting development path where 2 seasons ago, he was with Cam Lund in Northeastern, went to the BCHL this year where he had a solid season in 35 games, 2 goals, 14 assists with 41 shots on goal. If you remember, before he started college, he blew out his knee and basically missed an entire season in the USHL. I think he played about 14 games at the end of the season. Now he's going to be going to Cornell this upcoming season. So he's kind of restarting his college career here. So he was always a very raw prospect, and we'll see if he ever kind of develops out into anything. Big kind of toolsy guy, but it always worries me when you take a step back. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Fisher here. Hopefully he can find his footing with Cornell. But one guy who really looks like as a potential diamond in the rough type of player, Jake Furlong. So Furlong, 5th round pick, of course, played this entire season with the San Jose Barracuda. Has in 66 games, had 1 goal, 7 assists with 60 shots on goal. Furlong, though, is not known for his offense. He drove offense, especially his draft year playing in the queue, but as time went on in the queue, he really focused on the defensive side of his game, and that is going to be his calling card as a defensive defenseman, right? Left-handed defensive defenseman. And really, I thought as the season went on, got stronger and stronger and got better and better for the Barracuda. And didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs, unfortunately. I would have liked to have seen him play in the playoffs there, which I get, right? Your short series, you got to go with your veterans, but I really like Furlong's game, and I expect him to make a big jump next year. Again, not offensively. That's not going to be his calling card. And maybe it's just because of the number that he wears is 61. But he does remind me of Justin Braun, just that smooth operator type of guy. Not as good of a skater as Justin Braun, but just a really smooth operator. I think Matias Havlid would be perfect type of partner for him, where with Havlid's ability to kind of generate, the transition game and get the puck moving, and his skating ability, and Furlong kind of playing a little bit more of the shutdown pairing between. I think that would be a really, really nice grouping with those two. So Furlong, I think for him, another season in the AHL, and then see what, where he kind of earns a bigger role and not just kind of bottom pairing minutes, but, potentially earns that second line or second pairing type of role with him, I think is probably the path. And then you see if he's ready to make the jump to the NHL, and again, kind of playing that bottom six role there, but like to help kind of shut things down, play on the PK, stuff like that. So I do like Furlong's trajectory, and I think he could be, again, just one of those diamond in the rough type of players. So another diamond in the rough type of guy, Joey Maldoni, 6th round pick, playing with UConn. 37 games, 29 goals, 18 assists, 137 shots on goal. Maldoni, who's going to go back for, I would assume, one more season at UConn, would be my guess, before potentially signing his really found his offense this year on UConn, as they had a kind of a bit of a Cinderella season, but like they were a very, very good team, like all year long, like kind of made their announcement as like, we're a good team, right? And very far run in the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. But Maldoni was a big reason for it. He, led the team in goals, was one of the leaders actually in the NCAA in goals, like just a massive, massive breakout season for Joey Maldoni. Not the biggest dude, but he plays hard. He's ferocious on the forecheck. He can score. Just kind of that energy, really high-end energy guy. So I expect him to go back, have another monster season with UConn, and then my guess would be hopefully signs his ELC next year, and can kind of turn into one of those like utility bottom six type of players who adds a little bit of scoring pop here and there. Matt Nieto type of guy would kind of be where I would put him. And those are very valuable players to have in your like those guys. People look for those type of players all the time at the trade deadline. So not that I'm trading, but again, so next guy, 7th round pick, Eli Barnett, 8 games with University of Vermont, got hurt this season, only didn't score, 0 assists, 6 shots on goal. Big player, again, known as kind of the defensive defenseman. So we'll see with him right now and see how it kind of goes. But, he was always, again, as these late round guys, kind of you're taking flyers on some of these guys. So, and then finally, the hometown kid himself, Rieselbach, 7th round pick, 35 games, 15 goals, 15 assists, 95 shots on goal, was a huge part Penn State, as they had kind of an unexpected monster season as well. I know Aiden Fink is kind of the guy for them, and I think if I recall, he turned pro. But next year is going to be a big opportunity for Lebach to kind of lead the team and be that guy for Penn State, as they kind of try to continue to capitalize on their success. But kind of like the Joey Maldoni thing, right, where I think maybe he kind of projects as like a NHL, AHL type of tweener guy, but high energy type of player who can play well in his own zone, and then add a little scoring pop here and there. So and that's what you're looking for with these late round guys. And it's like Lebach, Furlong, Maldoni, some potential diamonds in the rough, right? And again, I don't think any of these guys are the next Joe Pavelski, but I think they can be quality players who help your team win. And I think all those guys are well on their way to doing that. So, but yeah, I think overall though, from this 2022 draft class, like there's some real promise here. Maybe no superstars, right? But I think though, with the way Bystedt performing, especially late in the season, Cam Lund his showing in the NHL this year. We'll see, what Matias Havlid does next year. But I think there's some promising players here as you continue to kind of build around your Macklin Celebrinis and your Will Smiths, et cetera. But and that you need these good depth players and these good bottom of the lineup players. And I think the Sharks might find some here from the 2022 draft class. So we'll continue every Friday. We'll be looking at, so like next week, we'll do the 2023 draft class, which is really fun with Smith and Musty and Casper Halton, et cetera. But next week, we'll be diving really heavy into free agency with a couple more of these profiles, looking at some, and then we have another draft profiles as well with our good friend Tony Ferrari, which has already been recorded. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Until next week. Bye, friends.